With the recent conflict between Israel and Hamas, the world has seen a rise in anti-Semitism. Hamas leaders have recently declared the war with Israel will never end. Will we ever see peace in the Middle East? Does the U.S. support Israel? We will be joined by the spokesperson of Israeli Foreign Affairs, Lior Hayat, to talk about all of this and more. You don't want to miss our very special guest. Stay tuned. Welcome to End of the Age. I'm Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. We're very excited about today's show. We want to talk to you. If you have questions, comments about the subject matter, we would love to chat with you. Does the U.S. support Israel? We'll be talking about all things Israel today. Give us a call at 1-877-Endtime. It's 1-877-363-8463. We look forward to chatting with you. However, today, you're not just going to be stuck with Doug and I. We actually have a very special guest, which we're very excited about. I messed up his name, and I apologize for that, Lior, but it's Lior Hayat, and he is the spokesperson for the Israeli Foreign Affairs. So we're really excited to be talking with him. We're going to just ask him some questions that we all want to know here, that you all wanted to know. We don't always get to see what's happening on the ground in Israel, so we want to know. He's there in Israel. He's in Jerusalem. What is happening with the recent turmoil between Israel and Hamas? So what's happening right now? What do you say to people that claim that the Palestinians have that land? We're going to hear it straight from someone that represents the Israeli government. We're going to ask him about the Temple Mount and what the greatest obstacle to peace is in the Middle East. So we're looking forward to that conversation here in a few minutes. It's going to be after the break. Before we get there, Doug, how excited are you about this, that you get to talk to somebody other than me?
Well, I'm pretty pumped. It's pretty exciting just because of who we're talking to, and like you said, having somebody who's living there in Israel that can give us a perspective from, actually being there every day, day after day, and knowing what's happening. Plus, he works for the government, so.
That's kind of a big deal. It's not just that he lives there. It's
right.
He's got the inside scoop.
Yes, he does.
And so I don't know who to liken it to here. Maybe the press secretary, or I don't know if that would be an appropriate.
We'll have to circle back for that one.
Oh, circle back. Okay. I got to get focused.
Yes.
Okay. Before we get to that, though, we do want to hit an article that's very important. We are going to take your calls later on, 1-877-Endtime, 1-877-363-8463. The first article we want to touch on is from Lior Hayat. How do you say that again? I messed that up.
I'm
not talking
good.
well today.
I would say Israel Hayam.
Well, that's a lot better.
However you want to say it.
Okay, the title of the article is Hamas leader I'm in trouble. Battle against Israel to continue forever. In one of his first interviews since coming out of hiding, Hamas Gaza leader predicted the ongoing conflict with Israel was not going to end. The battle between us and Israel will continue forever, he told Vice News. Echoing the general Palestinian terrorist group's radical approach to any form of reconciliation with the Jewish state, he went on to explain he could not see peace ever being a real possibility because Israel was occupying our land, displacing our people, confiscating land, and attacking sacred places. It's going to be interesting to hear Lior's perspective on a question in that regard. Several weeks ago, Sinwar, his name completely disappeared from the public eye during the 11-day flare-up with Israel, which began after Hamas fired rockets on Israeli cities. Throughout the Operation Guardian of the Walls, as Israel has called the campaign against Hamas, he was nowhere to be seen, emerging only after the ceasefire had been declared. That's probably a strategic move on his part, and very wise, I would say.
Yeah, probably so.
Israel is pretty good at
pinpointing their targets.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
In his interview to Vice News, he explained that Hamas entered the latest round of violence to deliver a message to the Israelis Just a message, all but confirming he had failed to anticipate the full-fledged hostilities that erupted following the first rocket attack on Israeli cities in mid-May. We just wanted to send a message to the Israelis that we will not allow them to take over Alaska Mosque, Jerusalem, or the Shechem Jarrah neighborhood in the Israeli capital. He said, this is what will define the near future, after being asked if another escalation was just around the corner.
Yeah. So I find it interesting that he had to come out of hiding to make these threats against Israel, but I understand because, like we talked about, they do have some pretty good precision weaponry that they use there, and they could probably fly a drone over there, and that might be the end of him. So.
Well, you were telling me about a drone, and we probably don't want to get into that,
No,
but the drone that went kind of rogue this weekend in error.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting just that, he's saying that we're never going to be at peace. Mm-hmm. We're ready to battle, and that's going to be what defines the near future.
What worries me is the people. It's like they have no voice. The Palestinian people, I would like to know what their perspective is of it, instead of hearing this leader say there was never going to be peace. They were always going to be fighting Israel.
So from what we understand, we would suggest that many of the people that live in that area would definitely prefer peace.
Yeah.
But they don't have a voice. They're run by a radical perspective. And then, of course, I can't speak personally because I don't know. Right. But it would seem like you wouldn't want to go up against an opponent that is much stronger than you are.
Yeah. Well, and then we also know that Iran is, feeding them weaponry and supplying, missiles for them and giving them, these little pep talks about, how they're going to support Hamas to erase Israel from the land forever.
Well, so, in talking about this and what we know about the coming Battle of Armageddon, maybe that's what gives them their confidence, is that they're backed by some very, very powerful people, very powerful countries, and therefore they don't care who's going to go up against, because they think death is a reward, and we're ready for death, and we don't even think we're going to die.
Right. Well, that's why it's going to take the Lord to step in and intervene, because they will. They'll have all the armies of the world coming against Israel, that tiny little country, but the Lord God is going to step in and fight for them.
And we know there's peace coming in spite of what he says.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it a little with Lior. Want to know what the obstacles are with peace, and it'll be interesting to see his perspective, since he does have that inside scoop. I'm sure he's had conversations on a very high level about the Abraham Accords with Benjamin Netanyahu and others, and so he's going to offer a perspective that we couldn't get anywhere else. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that. Lior Hayat, he's the spokesperson for the Israeli Foreign Affairs. He'll be joining us after the break. Don't go anywhere. In fact, if you're on Facebook, share this as many times as you can. Hit the heart button. Help us get the message out. We're about to talk to Lior Hayat, who's the spokesperson for Israeli Foreign Affairs. You don't want to miss this conversation. Very excited of the perspective he's going to bring. Give us a call. We'd love to talk to you about the topic today. 1-877-Endtime, 1-877-363-8463. We look forward to be joined by Lior Hayat after the break.
Does the book of Revelation frighten you? Do its symbols confuse you? For centuries, the book of Revelation has been misunderstood and misinterpreted. In Revelation, the unveiling of Jesus Christ, Volume 1, Irvin Baxter unlocks the mystery of the book of Revelation with in-depth analysis and commentary like you've never heard before. This 10-part definitive DVD series and 268-page comprehensive commentary book covers the first 12 chapters of the book of Revelation, featuring on-location photography, classic artwork, and symbolic illustrations. You'll walk away with complete understanding and peace about the events happening during the final years on Earth. These comprehensive study tools, available for $299, will deepen your biblical understanding as you dig into the original intent of the book, answering the mysterious prophecies and symbols of the book of Revelation. Don't miss this special offer. Call now, 1-800-END-TIME, or go to endtime.com to order. Call or go online now to get this comprehensive Bible study.
We've seen Bible prophecy fulfilled like never before. From the halls of the United Nations to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, Endtime Ministries continue to reveal the Bible prophecy in the news headlines around the world every day. Whether it's through our broadcast or online at our Jerusalem Prophecy College, your gifts enable us to put vital materials in the hands of those who need it most. Because of you, we continue to replace fear with faith in the hearts of Christians around the world. We will continue to see prophecy come to pass at an even swifter pace. We need your support. Your donation of any amount enables us to continue to broadcast and be a voice in the ever-growing censored media. To become a partner or give a one-time gift, visit endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME right now. That's 800-363-8463. Go online now. Visit endtime.com.
Welcome back to End of the Age. I'm Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. Please give us a call. We'd love to chat with you. The number is 1-877-END-TIME, 1-877-363-8463. We don't want to delay it any longer. We're so excited to have Lior Hayat here with us, spokesperson for Israeli Foreign Affairs. We're going to bring him right on. Before we do, make sure to share this video. Tell all your friends to join in. Lior, welcome to End of the Age.
Shalom, everyone. Shalom from Jerusalem. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Now, Lior, could you just explain to everyone who you are, what you do, so our viewers can know a little bit more about you?
So as you said, my name is Lior. I'm the spokesperson of the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I've been doing this job for the last year and a half. I served as a diplomat in Argentina, in Spain, and lately in Miami as a Consul General of Israel to Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi. And I came back just to be the spokesperson of the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Wonderful. So what's a normal day look like for you then? What do you kind of do?
There isn't a normal day when you're a spokesperson. Every day is different. I've just a short story. A few months ago, I got a call from my Director General in the middle of the night saying, Lior, is your passport ready? And I told him, this is COVID time. Where could I go? And he said, no, I want you to go to Abu Dhabi. Mm-hmm. It was a few days before we signed the Abraham Accords, and I was on the advanced team of the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs to Abu Dhabi, and I've received the first delegation coming from Israel with a direct flight. Later, a few months later, I visited Bahrain and Morocco, and that was part of the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, achieving peace in the Middle East, obviously with a lot of help from the U.S. and the Trump administration. And over the last few weeks, we've been dealing with the terror attacks and the missile and rockets launching from the Gaza Strip to Israel. So my days began very early in Jerusalem, some of them even in the shelter, and others just going and doing interviews and trying to show the Israeli point of view to listeners and viewers around the world.
Well, here at Endtime, we have some crazy days as well, and it doesn't quite compare to your days, but ours aren't predictable either, so we kind of know what you're going through there. I can't wait on the day for them to call me and say, hey, we need you to get to Abu Dhabi really quickly, so I'll be looking forward to that. Lior, we in the U.S. don't always hear what's happening on the ground in Israel as it really is happening. So what's actually happening between Israel, Hamas, and the Palestinians?
Well, it's basically very simple. Hamas is a terror organization that about 3 weeks ago started a terror attack on Israel, launching missiles and rockets from the Gaza Strip to the Israeli cities, starting with Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, and then to other cities and around the Gaza Strip and even to Tel Aviv. This is over the the 2 weeks or almost 2 weeks of the Operation Guardian of the Walls, there were over 4,000 missiles, and it's very important to mention every missile is a terror attack. Every rocket that was being launched from the Gaza Strip is a double a war crime, because they are launching those missiles towards Israeli citizens, which is a war crime, and they are launching it from the centers of cities in the Gaza Strip, which is another war crime. So we are talking about thousands of war crimes that the Hamas terrorists made in those 11 days of the operation. Our goal was very clear. We had to stop the rocket launching towards Israel and to hit the terror infrastructure of the Hamas terror organization in Gaza. This is not only the right of every country to defend its citizens, but also the duty of the government to do everything possible to make to create a reality where the citizens are safe.
What do you say to the claims that the land belongs to the Palestinians there? We hear that a lot in our media, saying that Israel is occupiers. So what would you say to our listeners about those claims that the land belongs to the Palestinians?
We cannot occupy what is ours. This is this land belongs to the Jewish people for over 3,000 years ago, and from more than 3,000 years. And this is funny because that we have historical evidence. We have a very important book that tells you about it. It's called the Bible, and we have the Jews never left this land. It's true that there is another people living here, the Palestinians, but it doesn't mean that we have no claims over this land. Our history, my family's history is in this land, and unfortunately, the media is presenting some of those so-called facts that are very different from reality.
Right.
In my personal story, my family was living in Israel, in the land of Israel, for the last 500 years, from the 15th century. I don't think that anyone can say I'm an occupier in this land. We are the indigenous people of the land of Israel. We never left Israel, and even the people that lived outside of Israel never cut off their contact with Israel. As you may know, Jews everywhere around the world say 3 times a day, L'Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim. They're hoping for next year to be in Jerusalem. This is the essence of being Jews.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Doug and I actually just did a program walking people through the Old Testament and how this land does belong to the Jews and the children of Abraham. And so we're very much on board with what you just said, and that's how we see it as well. Now, you just mentioned you went to Abu Dhabi. How's the conflict that we see happening right now affecting the agreements with other nations that signed the Abraham Accords?
We were very surprised to see that those new peace agreements are staying strong and on course, even though we had a conflict with the terrorist organization in Gaza. We actually heard from a lot of people in the Gulf countries, in the UAE and Bahrain, that they consider Hamas to be a terror organization that is not only attacking Israel, but it's also a threat to the Muslim countries in the Middle East. It's part of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is a threat to the stability of many countries in the Middle East, and they have no doubt that they would have done the same thing if they were to be attacked by a terror organization.
That's a good fact to know, that they're on your side and they understand the struggle that you have there. What would you say is not commonly known about the Abrahamic Accord that you wish people understood about it?
I think that there are a few things that we should mention here. I started talking about the importance of the Trump administration and the role they played in putting those Abraham Accords forward. But the fact is that we, as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, had contacts with a few Arab countries in the last 2 decades. We've been working with them under the radar. We've been creating the infrastructure for future peace, and the Abraham Accord just took the lid off it and put it in daylight. And since then, we are working together with our new partners and walking towards a better future for the Middle East, more stability and more prosperity, not only for our people and theirs, but for the entire region.
I guess from your perspective, and maybe the perspective of foreign affairs in general, what, if you're willing to share both, or if they're the same, what's the greatest obstacle to peace in the Middle East?
I think terrorism is. And it's not just the terrorism that is being directed at Israel in the last few days. We're talking about radical Islam terrorist organization that are threatening a lot of countries. In many cases, in most cases, they have Iran standing behind them. And if I had to pinpoint one of the main obstacles, or the main obstacle for stability and peace in the Middle East, I would say it's Iran. Iran is a radical regime that is threatening all the stability of the entire region. They are developing nuclear weapons. They are developing the long-range missile systems. And they're supporting and financing a terror organization all around the world, all around the Middle East. Sorry.
Now, you didn't mention anything about the Temple Mount. Do you not feel like, I mean, obviously you probably do, but I know there's lots of conflict around the Temple Mount. Does that come into play at all?
No, I think that the Temple Mount shouldn't be a reason or an obstacle to peace. It should be on the other way around. We think that part of the stability of this in Jerusalem should be that this is an open city under the control of Israel. Every person of faith, it doesn't matter from which religion, could come to Jerusalem and exercise his traditions, whether he's Jewish, Christian, Muslim, or any other faith. And Israel is very proud of our freedom of religion and freedom of worship that we exercise day in, day out in Jerusalem. This is our not only our goal, it is our responsibility. We understand the importance of the city of Jerusalem. We understand the importance of each and every stone in that city. And and unlike other times in the past, when Israel controls, since Israel controls the entire city of Jerusalem since 1967, this city is an open city for all faith and all people of faith. And this is an important message to the world. Jerusalem should be a center for peace and not a center for conflict. And I really believe that there is a saying in the Bible that says, from Zion the law will come, and from Jerusalem peace will emerge. That's the second part is mine.
So for the Jews to honor their tradition, there would need to be a Temple Mount. Or there would need to be a temple, excuse me.
Well, this is a religious issue and a geopolitical one. I think that the importance of the city of Jerusalem is not only by the buildings that are there, but the faith that is within us. I think that a day will come and the third temple will be built, a physical one or a spiritual one. But the issue is that we want people to be able to go to those places. Those places are part of our history. Whether we are Jews, whether we are Christians, or whether we are Muslims, and we do understand the importance of those places for all.
Now, I've spoken with several rabbis, and I've asked them, because of the Alaska Mosque, obviously there's some structural situation there for the third temple potentially. So I asked, what if you could build the third temple without the outer courts? And the rabbis have told me, well, we would be willing to do that, but we're Jews and we'll want it all eventually. Is that, I guess, from a non-religious perspective, would your opinion be the same, that you all would be okay with a temple that didn't have the outer courts?
I have to tell you, I'm not a rabbi, and I can't speak for as a spiritual. I'm talking as an Israeli, and as an Israeli, I think that it's very important for us to be able to go to those places. Yeah. I remember taking family coming from abroad to the Western Wall in Jerusalem, understanding how for years they've dreamt of coming to this place, touching those stones. This is a spiritual experience that you can't even describe with words. I wouldn't talk about the building of the third temple. I don't think it's realistic for the near future. Obviously, as part of the Jewish people, this is part of our belief, but we also have to think of the reality on the ground.
Lior, we are coming up on a break. Would you mind sticking through and answering a few more questions for us? I apologize for the delay. All right, well, we will be taking your calls after this break. Give us a call at 1-877-Endtime, 1-877-363-8463. Major internet companies are silencing and censoring Christian voices online. These companies are trying to control what you see and hear. Almost 200 videos of ours have been marked as restricted online right now. That's why we launched End of the Age Plus, a platform where the truth won't be censored, a platform where we can preach the message of the gospel. When you subscribe to End of the Age Plus today for just $12.99 a month, you can watch all of our content in a secure, easy-to-view way from your favorite device. When you go to watch.endtime.com and subscribe, you'll get instant access to all of our teaching resources, including Revelation, the Unveiling of Jesus Christ, Understanding the End Time, End Time Magazine, and so much more. We will not censor our message to comply with what the world deems as politically correct. Go to watch.endtime.com right now or search End of the Age Plus in the App Store or Google Play.
Move Mountains with Irvin Baxter. This book by Irvin's grandson provides 30 days of devotion that will enhance your relationship with God and others. Authentic illustrations from early morning devotions at Endtime will help you find your purpose and eliminate fears. Commit to taking this 30-day journey and experience real life change. Get your book for only $14.99. Call 1-800-363-8463 or go to endtime.com/move.
If your station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com and click the watch button to continue today's broadcast. You can also finish up later by clicking the archive button.
Welcome back to End of the Age. I'm Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell and special guest Lior Hayat. Lior, we're so glad to have you on End of the Age. Lior is the spokesperson for the Israel Foreign Affairs, and it's been an honor chatting with you, and thank you for agreeing to stay for a little bit longer.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we'll pick it right back up, Doug.
Lior, let me ask you, do you feel like the United States and the current administration support Israel? And if so, why?
I think that the relationship and the alliance between the U.S. and Israel goes beyond one administration or other. And it goes to the creation of the modern state of Israel in 1948. I don't know how many of your audiences knows that 11 minutes after the declaration of independence of Israel in May 1948, 11 minutes after, the United States recognized the new state. And it was an amazing, just to think about. It's amazing just to think about it, because it wasn't in time of cell phones nor any other kinds of communication. They actually called Washington and told them there's a new state that the Jews just declared in Israel, in the land of Israel. And the United States immediately recognized it. And since then, we had very good relations with different administrations. Some of them were more supportive of Israel, some of them less, but all of them were committed to the security of the state of Israel in different levels. We don't have any better friend than the United States. It doesn't matter who's in power in Washington and who's in power in Jerusalem. This is an important part of our national security, the alliance with the U.S. administration and with the United States as a whole. We cherish the support that we get, not only from the political level, but also from people just on the streets supporting Israel, praying for Israel. This is a very important part of our day-to-day support that we get from the American people.
Now, Lior, we've talked about a lot of different topics so far. Why should Americans, most of our audience are Americans, why should they know or care about any of what we've discussed?
I think this is a part of being the common goals that Israel and the United States have. This is an important part of being Israeli, is to support the United States. It's an important part for the United States to understand what's going on in Israel. And if your allies, which means the Israelis, are under a terror attack, I think that the Americans should know about it and should act about it, and that should do anything possible in order to help Israel defend itself. And this is what this creation did, and we are grateful for the support that we got all through this operation from the Biden administration. We work together, we talk in different levels. There were a few talks between Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, and President Biden, and between the Foreign Minister Ashkenazi and the Secretary of State, and in other levels, in order to secure the Israeli position in international forums and in the UN, and especially in the Security Council.
Well, I can tell you that as an American and as a Christian, me and my family, we are praying for the peace of Jerusalem. We are praying for you all. And we are very interested in knowing about everything that you have talked about with us so far today. And I know Doug feels the same way. One last question for you, if you don't mind. We've teamed up with the Jewish Agency here at Endtime. There's been many of our partners who have teamed up with us to donate to help Jews to make Aliyah, to make Israel their home again. Why is it important for Jews to make Aliyah?
The sole goal of the creation of the Jewish state is for Jews to be able to be in a place that they can feel at home any day, any time. Unfortunately, for 2,000 years, the Jewish people was living in different places. They didn't rule themselves, and they were under the mercy of different rulers. Some of them decided that they'll expel the Jews. Some of them decided that they'll protect the Jews, but the Jews did not have a say. Israel, the state of Israel, changed all of it. We are the ones, we are the masters of our faith, and we will control it. And the only way we do that is, first of all, by having Jews coming to Israel, and secondly, having this coalition of supporters around the world. And this is why we are so grateful, and we appreciate so much the support that we get from the Christian communities. This is not just the prayers. The fact that the Christian communities around the U.S. and around the world are with us day in and day out. They pray for us, but they also act on it. They talk to their elected officials about it, and they make the changes. The fact that the U.S. decided to move its embassy from Tel Aviv to our capital, to Jerusalem, a few years ago is part of it, is a result of the action of the Christian communities, and we will forever be grateful for that.
Well, Lior, we've appreciated you coming on with us. We've kicked it right off. It feels like you're a longtime friend of the show. We hope to be able to have you back again, perhaps soon. And we really enjoyed our conversation today.
Thank you, and I want to send my appreciation to all your audience. This is an important message that we get from you of your support, and I'm looking forward to the times that the COVID crisis will be over and you all could come back and visit us. There's nothing like a first visit to Israel. The only thing that comes close to it is the second visit to Israel.
Right.
Well, I am looking forward to having my second visit to Israel. I've been one time in 2009. My family has been hundreds of times collectively. But yeah, I can't wait. And hopefully maybe we can meet up with you while we're there.
For sure. I'm here in Jerusalem waiting for you.
All right.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Lior.
Thank you, and shalom from Jerusalem.
Shalom.
Well, Doug, that was awesome.
That was pretty incredible.
What was your favorite part?
There were a lot of things that he talked about that we talk about on a daily basis. From a prophetic standpoint, he talked about the Temple Mount and how Israel they have this freedom of religion, and that everybody should be able to visit those religious sites, respectfully, no matter what religion you are. Well, we know, from Revelation 11 that there is going to be a temple on that Temple Mount eventually. There's going to be a physical temple there. John was told to measure not only the temple, but the altar and the worshipers there. So we know there's going to be worship going on there, all those things. And he kind of touched on that. So that's...
it's important to note, too, that he's speaking as the spokesperson of foreign affairs.
Right.
And we're speaking from the perspective of current events through a lens of Bible prophecy.
Right.
And so we might have some differing of opinion.
Right.
And he did allude to a spiritual Temple Mount.
Right.
Or rather a spiritual temple. And of course we teach that there will be a physical temple.
Right.
And there's plenty of people who don't think there'll be a physical temple, but we'll walk you through the scriptures to show you where that is. And so we had a lot of people in the chat, and then of course questioning, shouldn't it be a physical temple? There's measurements and so forth, and so we kind of wanted to hit on that too.
Well, and then he also has to be politically correct in what he's saying too. He's got to watch what he says, because if he says, "Oh yeah, there's going to be a physical temple there," that could cause all kinds of turmoil for his government right now, with all the tensions being on the Temple Mount right now, and him saying, "Yeah, there's going to be a physical Jewish temple there one day." Like he said, I like his answer. I'm not a rabbi, so he couldn't answer with authority there. But we do have that scripture, and so you want me to
sure
take some people down through there so they see it. All right. So Revelation 11, 1 and 2 was the scripture I was referring to, and it says, "And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of God and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it's given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall be tread underfoot for 42 months." So it lets us know that there's going to be a sharing arrangement there, just kind of like what he was talking about, everybody respectfully being able to go there. But we know there's going to be a physical temple because of the words that are used there about the altar and the worshipers therein, saying they're inside this temple. Now, remember that the Jewish people there, Vince, they don't recognize Jesus as their Messiah, they don't know that our bodies are the temple of God and His Holy Spirit dwells in us now. They're looking for their Messiah. So they believe they need to have this temple. And we just see in Scripture that they will be able to accomplish that eventually. And then 2 Thessalonians is one of the ones that really lets us know this, because that Scripture lets us know in verse 3, I'll just start there. It says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, and or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." So you can't set in a spiritual temple. He's going to be setting in a physical temple, and he's going to declare that he's God and to be worshiped as God. We also know from Daniel 11, verse 31 and 36, it reiterates that same point. He'll stop the animal sacrifice, he'll cause the abomination of desolation, and he'll declare that he is God in the temple. So it lets us know those things in several different places.
And that's why we're so confident there will be a physical temple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes it's hard to know how we're going to get from where we are today to that point, but there's no denying the Scriptures. And of course, a lot of the folks in Israel are not going to reference the New Testament. They read the Old Testament, and so there's some details there that they don't have, and that would be perhaps why an opinion would be that it would be a spiritual temple. But we certainly teach there will be a physical temple. We feel like, as Doug's read here, that that's undeniable at this point. So yes, there will be a physical temple, and I look forward to seeing it be built and seeing how things develop, because we know that when that starts happening, the second coming of Jesus Christ is just around the corner. So we're really excited about that. We do want to take your calls. We have some lines that are open. Give us a call to ask us any questions, make some statements about anything Lior said or what we've said. We're happy to join in to have a conversation. The number to do that is 1-877-Endtime, 1-877-363-8463. Also, if you are on Facebook, keep sharing. That will help us out a lot. You may have some folks on your timeline that aren't able to watch it right this moment in the live session, but it'll still be there for them when they get off work later tonight. They're scrolling through, catching up with social media. So if you share it now, it could have an impact for days with people that you're connected with. So share it. Hit the heart button instead of the thumbs up. It helps us a little bit more. We'd certainly appreciate it. All right. Well, on the other side of the break, we are going to take your calls. We have a few calls in the queue, and there's room there for more. So give us a call, 1-877-Endtime. We'll get into your calls, and if we have some time, we'll cover a few more news stories that are very important with what Lior has talked to us about. So we look forward to chatting with you, 1-877-Endtime, 1-877-363-8463.
Most of us walk around day by day blind to the prophecies being fulfilled right before us. Every news report brings a new piece to the puzzle in the race towards the final 7 years and the second coming of Jesus Christ. Now, more than ever, it is important for God's people to understand the times in which we are living. On November the 12th, 2013, we opened our Jerusalem Prophecy College in downtown Jerusalem. These same courses are now available online for people who are unable to attend the classes in person. We welcome students to join us and discover the link between current events and the prophecies of the Bible. Take your place in the prophecy of Daniel 11:33. Enroll in the Jerusalem Prophecy College today. Go to JerusalemProphecyCollege.com.
Welcome back to End of the Age. I'm Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. We are excited today to have Lior Hayat with us, spokesperson for the Israeli Foreign Affairs. It was a great conversation with him, and we look forward to several more. We talked a little bit earlier, and he said he'd be willing to come back with us and maybe become a recurring guest. Who knows what will happen? And like he did mention, when we're in Israel next time, we can meet up with him, and it would be a great addition to the tour, Doug, to be able to have dinner with him, or who knows what we could
really
do.
Would. I mean, he's awesome guy, very nice.
Maybe get Benjamin Netanyahu to speak to our group. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Exclusive conversations with the Endtime Israel tour. Learn more about that at endtime.com/Israel. I did want to let you know that we asked him why Americans should care about what we've discussed, and he gave a great answer to that. And it's to me, it's important to remind us at this point why Reclaim America is so important. We survive off of donations from partners. We don't receive government grants. We don't do any of what a lot of other people do. Not that there's anything wrong with what they do. I'm just saying we've been built on partner support through prayers, through financial gifts. One campaign that we do every 2 years is the Reclaim America campaign, where we subscribe all of our lawmakers and American thought leaders. And so they get Endtime magazine for 2 whole years. For $40, your lawmaker in your state will get Endtime magazine for 2 whole years. Well, the stuff that we've talked about today, you don't hear about on Fox News. You don't hear about it on CNN. They don't read about it in the Wall Street Journal or anything like that. They are getting this information from places like Endtime, and so we think it's critical that they get Endtime magazine, because they're going to hear these type of conversations. They're going to hear about how current events are aligning with Bible prophecy, and how their votes and their decisions and the topics they talk about on their shows have a direct impact on the direction of America as we navigate these end times. So we certainly need to get them on board with the Bible prophecies, and a great way to do that is through Endtime magazine and our Reclaim America campaign. So join with us. Every dollar counts that goes towards that. Every little bit will help with the effort. Go to endtime.com/USA or give us a call at 1-800-ENDTIME. Tell the operator that you want to contribute to Reclaim America. We don't want to hold the phones off any longer. We've got a few spots left. 1-877-ENDTIME is the number to call. But we will go to Gary in Texas. Gary, welcome to End of the Age. Sorry we couldn't get you on while Lior was here, but we do appreciate you calling. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you. I was wanting to get Lior's take on the coalition government that's forming in Israel, and hearing reports that Netanyahu is out. Can you give us an update on it?
You know, I'm not well versed enough to be able to do that with excellence, Doug. I don't know about you.
No,
Their government is so much different than ours that I start reading that and I'm like, man, I don't know how Irvin got into this like he did. My head's swimming.
It's a mess over there right now. But I mean, the only thing that I have done is kind of skim the headlines. I didn't really look into it very deep because I knew we had this interview coming up, and we had already had our questions geared toward the things that have happened over the past few weeks. And so, Gary, I couldn't answer that real well. Tell you what, though, I'll try to research that and get you an email tomorrow. Is that okay?
Yeah, that'd be good.
All right. Thank you,
Gary. Already knew. Gary already knew where we stood. We're good friends with.
I was hoping to get Lior's take on it and what he saw going forward. You know.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Maybe we can email him and get a response from him, and we can send you his response. All right.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for calling, Gary. Gary's a longtime friend of Endtime Ministries, longtime supporter. We appreciate Gary so much, and we always look forward to hearing from Gary, whether it be on the phone or through email. We're communicating with him on a regular basis, so we appreciate Gary giving us a call. Delene from Oklahoma, welcome to End of the Age.
Hi.
Hi.
I kind of have 2 questions. One is, did Lior say that Israel was like over 5,000 years old? The heritage, we know there was a beginning, but
he said his family heritage, he can trace it back 500 years, I believe is what he said.
Yeah, he misspoke and said 5,000. He said, I'm sorry, 500 years.
Yeah. His specific family, he can track back 500 years.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I was trying to connect the dots to like around the 6,000 mark, ready to go into the 7th for the millennial. But just trying to connect the dots. But then the other question is, so you mentioned, you asked if they might build that temple without the outer court. Is your line of thinking tracking along, like, because it says don't measure the outer court because it'll be trampled down by the Gentiles.
That's
so if they built the temple without that outer court, that might be fulfilling a prophecy.
Yeah, that's exactly why I asked it, because when we were actually in Israel, I asked the rabbi that specifically, because I'm going, he doesn't read the book of Revelation. And so I'm just going to ask him, what's he think about that? And he said, well, I already said what he said, but they would be happy to do that because they'll take whatever they can get. And I was just like, I mean, he's saying that he would agree to what Revelation says is going to happen. So, and he was the leader of the Temple Institute at the time. So to me, that was a huge deal. And then to hear Lior talk about it more from a political perspective, to me, it sounds like if we can do it with peace, everybody would be down from a government perspective, from a religious perspective. And so now I'm going, well, I already knew that because of the prophecy, but it makes it all that more real when people who don't study those specific prophecies would say that they would agree to that.
Yeah. And Darlene, that space that's just north of the Dome of the Rock, that's where a lot of times they've talked about putting that temple. If you look at a view of the Temple Mount, and you can do that, like you can Google it and look at it, there's quite a bit of real estate there to the north of the Dome of the Rock, and that looks like that would be the perfect location for it. And then that would put the Dome of the Rock in that location. That would be the outer court in that area. So it is something that I believe that they're looking at. And his perspective of it today was more about keeping that in their historical value. As a Jew, that's very not only a historic site, but it's a religious site for the Jews. And he was really emphasizing that, from a political standpoint, it's very important to them for those two reasons, religiously and from a historical point.
Yep. Yeah, and I look at the pictures, and I'm trying to figure out which is north, if it's on my left or my right or in front, because I haven't been there. I just look at it on a picture. So
I think there's a structure there. I think it's called the Dome of Spirits. Mm-hmm. They believe that that's where the Holy of Holies was, and so it's basically right about in that spot. Yeah. So if you looked up that. Using a secure search engine that may or may not be Google, you would be able to find that on a map. The Dome of Spirits, I believe, is what it's called.
They leave off the compass rose, that tells you which direction. But, okay, that's what I was wondering. I'm just trying to look I'm constantly, my mind's trying to find if it's a 6,000 mark, because the 6 the number of man, and 1,000 years is like a day to God. So I'm thinking the 7th millennial reign. But okay, thank you guys so much. Great program.
Thank you, Darlene. We appreciate your call. When you figure out all those numbers, let us know, because that's about like trying to figure out the Israeli election process.
Right.
I know.
All right. Well, thanks for calling. We always appreciate hearing from you. Now we have a little bit of time left, so we'll go to Gail in Florida. Gail, welcome to End of the Age. Gail, are you there?
She just hung up.
Gail just hung up. We missed Gail by just a millisecond there, so bummer for that. We will go to South Carolina. Dorothy, welcome to End of the Age.
Hey, Vince. Hi, Doug. How are you?
Hi, Dorothy. We're doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you great.
Okay. For people that have not had the benefit of going to Israel, I have a two-part question. Number one, what exactly, I understand that they're going to be building a physical Temple Mount, but what's there now?
So,
is there is there a structure there? And I heard part of it got destroyed by bombing, so was there part of the structure there?
There is no Jewish structure there. There's the Dome of the Rock, there's the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which both of those are Muslim buildings there. So the Dome of the Rock is what you see all the time when you see a picture of Jerusalem. It's a huge dome made of gold. And so that's what's there right now. Those are the Muslim holy places. And what we were talking about before with the Jewish temple, they're talking about the possibility of being able to do that to the north of that Dome of the Rock. And so there's a space that you can see that could clearly be, but at this point there is not a Jewish structure. Now they are building an area outside the Western Wall, and a lot of people ask about that structure all the time. But that's simply just going to be an area of prayer. They separate the men from the women in the prayer, and that's going to be an avenue for where it's going to be kind of shaded to keep everybody out of the sun. And I think even part of it may be air conditioned. I hadn't looked into the structure all the way, but that's the structure that people are seeing there right now. That's by the what we call the Wailing Wall or the Western Wall.
Okay, thank you. And I guess I was trying to figure out what they said got damaged by the bombings. Was that?
I haven't heard about that.
Did?
I did not hear that.
I had heard that it did.
Now, at one time
they did.
They burned a tree up because they fired the Muslims that were protesting up there fired like some firework type missiles, and they hit a tree and caught a tree on fire. And a lot of people thought that a structure had been destroyed up there close to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, but it was just a tree that got burned.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. All right, well, thank you very much. You guys have a good day.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Dorothy. We appreciate you giving us a call. All right, once again, it was a pleasure to have Lior Hayat here with us today. He is the spokesperson for the foreign affairs for Israel, and he offered a wealth of knowledge and said he'd be interested in coming back on and being a recurring guest for us. So we look forward to having him back in the future to talk about all things Israel. Doug, any last highlights you want to hit before we wrap up the day?
I think that it's important that we get this perspective, Vince. I think it's important for our listeners to hear it from somebody that's involved in the Israeli government there, and to kind of understand that the media does have an angle that they kind of report from, and we need to hear from all sides. And so, I mean, I thought that it was a great interview, and I'm glad he was here today.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. I'll say it again. We survive off of the partnership from you all, you the listener. We offer this show for free on social media and on radio and television, totally free for you to view. We have tons of free resources at our website, endtime.com. We survive from your partnership. So your one-time gifts of about $80 on average, but we get lots of gifts that are $5 and lots of gifts that are $20. That's how Endtime operates. That's how we pay the bills. We have light bills and phone bills and all the things to be able to communicate with you on a regular basis for totally free. So if you're interested in partnering up with us, we would be so grateful. We'll be able to help Jews make Aliyah. That's part of what we do. And also to be able to continue to preach that the second coming of Jesus Christ is just ahead. And in all the stuff between now and then, there's a lot of scary stuff that some people say is scary, but we just tell you, you don't have to be scared. You can have peace and joy through these end times. So go to endtime.com to partner up with us and donate today.
This has been End of the Age, brought to you by the faithful partners of Endtime Ministries. If you're not currently a partner with Endtime Ministries, or if you would like more information, we invite you to call us at 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463, or visit us online at endtime.com.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our Facebook page.